All right, today's video is the body of work, which is the big one for separating teachers and students who understand the requirements of the individual oral and those who are missing a key component. I saw many examples of final individual orals when I was examining that were not hitting the body of work in the way that the IB has required. And at the end of this video, you will definitely be able to meet that requirement. So what is the body of work? What does that mean? Well, basically, you know you have a 40-line extract, but on top of that 49-line extract, you need to talk about the whole work that the extract comes from. So if this is a poem or a short story, it's going to be other poems or short stories by the same author. If it's a novel or a drama, it'll be other parts of the same novel or play. If you're taking the literature course, then you'll have your second extract and come from a work in translation. It'll be the same requirements as above. If you're taking the language and literature course, then your second work will be a non-literary text. So we're talking about articles, photographs, editorials, advertisements, speeches, possibly movies. There's a lot of options. And the body of work will be other works by the same author, or sometimes with advertisements it's hard to tell who the author is, so the same advertising campaign or publisher, but generally looking for the same author if possible. And you need to not just talk about your extract, you need to talk about their wider work. How many works need to be selected to constitute a body of work is explained more in the guides, and it varies a lot between particularly these non-lit works and is discussed a lot, so I'd suggest going on the IB discussion boards if you have questions about a specific text type and what a body of work, how much you have to cover to get a body of work covered. But how much do you need to talk about in your oral? Because, for example, poetry, the body of work is 15 poems. So you have your 40 lines and then you have 14 other poems. You can't talk about 14 poems in 10 minutes. So you have to make choices of what you can talk about to show knowledge of the body of work. It's not an exact ratio. You will see online people saying you should spend 50% of your time on the body of work, 50% of your time on the extract analysis. As an examiner, I can tell you I don't think examiners have a timer out. They aren't timing it. But you need to have quality analysis of both the body of work, abbreviated BOW, and the extract. You can't just only analyze one. You need to have quality analysis of both. So you can see that right in the assessment rubrics. This is the top bands of the language and literature assessment rubrics. In criterion A, you can see that they mention the works right there. That's a reference to the body of work. And to score highly, you have to show excellent knowledge. And again, it all connects back to that global issue. You have to have persuasive interpretation of the global issue. And I highlighted the word references because, yes, you should have quotes and detailed knowledge from the body of work. You shouldn't just talk vaguely about in their work they're doing this similar issue to the extract. No, give specifics. So criteria B, which is analysis and evaluation, again, the body of work is referenced there, and you're expected to be able to analyze authorial choice, the global issue, and analyze the global issue as it's presented in the greater body of work. And criteria C, focus and organization. So you need to have analysis that is well balanced, and well balanced means you're talking about the body of work a solid chunk of time as well. Now we will take a listen to the same student that we heard from previously, and she's going to connect to the body of work.
Another piece of work that he shows this in is Mr. Backlash, when he says, "You raise my taxes, freeze my wages, and send my son to Vietnam." He's highlighting the lack of responsibility that the government shows towards African Americans.
So we saw in the last video that she had selected a quote that was highlighting the hypocrisy of the US government, asking people to fight for democracy, African Americans to fight for democracy, and then denying them rights at home. So this quote is perfect. It talks about sending the son to Vietnam, but then denying them financial opportunities at home. But she doesn't do any analysis of the authorial choices and actually has the incorrect title to the poem as well. So if we were to have her go over the planner and have asked for feedback, you can see she's got her quote here. You would see the title of the poem is wrong, and then she's not done any analysis of literary devices, and the effect on audience is quite underdeveloped. So this is why using a planner is so important. As a student, it gives you clear feedback, self-driven feedback on, am I analyzing this in enough detail? And as a teacher, you can tell your student, you should be talking about the literary devices as found in the body of work and also the effect on audience. So her point is undermining hypocritical American government, and we saw her extract quote analyzed in the previous video. Now we're to the body of work. We fixed the title. In this quote, you see the American government being addressed directly with the second person, you. You see a tricolon or a rule of three, raising taxes, freezing wages, sending son to Vietnam. And that rule of three juxtaposes this financial injustice going on here with the patriotic duty. So in this, Hughes is highlighting the hypocrisy, addressing the American government, making them feel ashamed, embarrassed of the situation, and also African Americans and those opposed to racism could be united by the injustice highlighted here. So when the planner is filled out, you know you've got plenty to talk about. Another piece of work that Hughes shows this in is the Backlash Blues, when he says, "You raise my taxes, freeze my wages, send my son to Vietnam." Hughes employs the second person to directly accuse the American government, along with a tricolon, to emphasize that African Americans are mistreated financially and at the same time expected to be patriotic and to fight and die in wars. By juxtaposing the sacrifice abroad with the injustice at home, Hughes is appealing directly to those in power. In highlighting their hypocrisy, he is prompting those in power to reconsider these racist double standards and at the same time creating unity among the oppressed. A few questions I hear frequently from students. Do I have to use quotes from the body of work? You don't have to, but you should. It's much easier to talk about authorial choice if you have a quote. You can bring in 10 bullet points with you into the oral, so often I suggest that body of work quotes are put onto that 10 bullet point list. And how much time should I spend on the body of work? It's not really about time, as I said, but it is about balance and depth. So make sure you're spending enough mental energy and analysis and depth to show that you really understand. I think a minimum of 2 references for each work, and remember you have, or each extract, and remember you have 2 extracts. So 2 for your lit work, and then in the 2 body of work connections for your lit work minimum, and 2 body of work connections to your non-lit work minimum if you're in the Lang and Lit class, or 2 connections to your work and translation if you're in the literature course. Over at my blog, you can get the rubric. You can also find that in the Lang and Lit guide, and the planners referenced, and also a list of guided questions to help you follow along with the work is there for you to download. In the next video, we'll work on time management and organization for the whole 10 minutes, and then answer the question of which planner is right for me.